Under the leadership of that hardy woodsman, Daniel Boone, a large party set out for the new land, Kentucky.
Abraham Lincoln was born right here.
The world comes to be pretty like me.
I'm Colonel Harlan Sanders, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Have I told you you people are crazy?
This is Old Kentucky Tales, the only podcast that solemnly swears that none of us have ever denied that Tootsie Rolls are super colossal for Zingo. Today's title is John Marshall Would Have Been Proud of John Marshall Harlan. I am your host, Brent Taylor. To my left is the man with heft in terms of conversational skill.
Right.
Jason Donner.
Is this going well for you? Are you liking this? We're on TV. Are we on
it feels
TV?
good.
We're
Feels
being
right.
recorded with cameras.
Yeah, it's
It
video.
feels like TV.
Video?
Yeah,
Always
so
better than audio, right?
This is our third one of the season like this. So, we're getting used to the room, basically.
Yeah. And all the little idiosyncratic things that go along with it, right?
Right. Like, what do you
Little
mean?
tiny changes.
Oh, yeah.
You got people counting
You mean the
on
TV?
fingers and all this stuff behind the scenes. Yeah.
Children, you mean? Counting on fingers. You mean the countdown?
Large
3,
children. Yes.
2.
Yes.
They don't say the one. It's like they mouth the one.
Yeah. You can't get cut on the hot mic, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So then,
Go
our
ahead.
main event is the analysis of arguably the greatest dissenting opinion in Supreme Court history from the Plessy case, and the man who authored it, John Marshall Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, don't forget to support the fake history sponsors who support Old Kentucky Tales. The products are real, only the sponsorship is fake.
Notice, it's time you grown-ups quit swiping kids' Tootsie Rolls. It's unfair. Can't you go get your own? Can't a girl call a Tootsie Roll her own? Jeeves, how that Tootsie taste gets them. Gotta watch those grown-ups. They cited Tootsie, sing, sang. That burns me. Count of I'm a sucker for that Tootsie taste. I'm a bear cat for that chocolatey, luscious flavor. Most of those Tootsie swipers don't even know that Tootsies are pet food. Yes, sir. Tootsies are super colossal for Zingo. America's favorite chewy chocolate candy. Tootsie Rolls. Jumbo. Try other Tootsie candies. Delicious. Stop swiping them right now.
A little bit like Opie. Looks like Opie.
Oh,
Is this the time
yeah, it's the
period?
right kind of...
That's slang, that lingo.
Yeah,
Is
mid-century.
this real lingo from the 60s?
That's the lingo. So
Feels like
that's
this-
actually what interested me about this was
I guess.
you could barely even you can
What's
understand
going
what's
on?
talking about
Right.
Jeeps.
Or it's what some ad guy thinks children or young people talk about.
Oh, now that could be
Right. Maybe it
exactly
is. We
it,
don't
right?
know.
Yeah, they're
It's pet
picking it
food.
up. They've heard that this is the new word for such and such, and so
Yeah.
now we're going to put every single
It's
one of
probably
those
true. We
words in
don't
our
know.
ad copy.
Well, it's super colossal for Zingo.
Super colossal for Zingo.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What is a Tootsie Roll, by the way? I mean,
Something I don't like to eat.
it's chewy. It's chocolate, right?
It's chocolate
But then
tea.
it's
I guess it's
yeah.
chocolate.
But it's not quite like chocolate. It's like,
No. Do you ever break into the
like
kids'
chewing
candy
cocoa.
like she was accusing people of there?
You mean like just take their candy?
Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, they don't know. They don't know what all's there.
Yeah, they got like bags and
They
bags and
forget
bags of
immediately.
candy. Is that right?
Right, yeah.
And so if a few Snickers disappear,
Is that what you would get?
oh,
Is that what
Snickers.
you want, the
Clearly
Snickers bar?
Snickers, yeah.
I mean, chocolate. Do you like the dark chocolate? Do you like the special?
I don't like the dark chocolate,
No
but I like the
special
milk
dark?
chocolate.
Mm.
Yeah.
About crackle?
No,
Okay,
that's a
who
weird
eats the
texture.
Crackle in the house.
Nobody.
A little kid?
The crackle sits there
The
for
dog?
ages,
Yeah.
and then the other ones all disappear over time.
Mm-hmm.
Until it's just a bag of crackle.
Yeah, Crackle's terrible. They should
Yeah.
discontinue Crackle. This is a serious show, though.
Yeah, serious
Plessy
show
ver-
about crackle.
Well, no, it's about Plessy versus Ferguson.
Oh, right. That's a very serious
Now,
topic.
make sure you tell us who the heck is Plessy and Ferguson.
All right, because this is the moment we've all been waiting for.
The main event.
Round one.
Ding.
Yeah, that's right.
They're going to get it in there later, right?
Yeah,
They
post-production.
don't add too many little things that we don't even know are going on.
No. That'll never
Like,
happen. Yeah.
I think
Takes too
maybe
much
it
work.
has already happened.
Well, you talking about the skulls that were going by and
Just
the
whatever. Yeah, this is a serious program.
too serious for skulls, flying skulls, right?
Yeah.
You have to go back to the 100th episode
I'm
for that if you're
being totally
following along at
serious.
home. Yeah.
Right.
But this is actually a serious topic.
Uh-huh.
It is the Plessy case.
Right, Plessy.
1896. It began in Louisiana, but then it's going to have its Kentucky connection because John Marshall Harlan is one of those justices.
Okay. So he's from Kentucky.
He's from Kentucky.
And have there been a lot of Supreme Court? I mean, there must be several Supreme
We've
Court
had
justices.
a few others. The Supreme
famous ones.
Court justices. Yeah, so Fred Vinson is probably the most recent.
Oh, Fred Vinson.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Nobody knows who Fred Vinson is.
Yeah, so he's a mid-century
recent?
guy, but he was a pretty big deal.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so,
Well,
so you're talking
I
like,
don't know.
right around the very center point of the century there.
Yeah.
You'd have him. He was a pretty big deal there for a while, obviously.
Right.
I mean, there's only 9 Supreme Court justices.
Well, yeah, they're all a big deal there, but yeah.
Yeah, and so Harlan is really kind of next level famous in terms of Supreme Court history
All right.
because of this.
What part of Kentucky, like?
That I
curious.
do not recall offhand,
But native.
but he's a
Yeah.
Kentucky guy,
Right.
and so he's always associated with it. And the thing was, they had segregation laws in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
It had to do with, in this case, public transportation, which is rail cars at that time.
All right.
And so there's a sign that says, if you're one color, you got to get on this car. If you're a different color, you have to get on that car over there.
Mm-hmm.
And along comes Homer Plessy. Plessy, though, is in a bit of a jam on this because in the
How
terms
so?
of the 1896
Yeah.
lingo, we talked about the 40s lingo, the 1896 lingo is he's an octoroon.
Really?
Yeah. And we don't
That's
use that term anymore. So it's like
I'd never heard it
when you
before.
first encounter it, you're like, well, I don't know. Octo means 8, and
So he's 1/8
1/8
a different or
black.
a blend.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. That's what that means.
All right.
And there were other terms like that too. Quadroon is 1/4, and
So
all
it's
this
written
stuff.
in. There's a distinction there.
Yeah.
Who makes
so
that decision like when you're about to get on the train?
that's what the courts are here
Okay.
for. So,
Right.
so he's going to get on the court. He's going to get on the thing, and they tell him, oh well, no, you're going to get on the wrong car.
Right.
And so then it turns into this whole
But he knows
incident.
right. He knows different.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, long story short.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court rules that that's perfectly fine. To have that,
Separate
for
them.
Louisiana to have that
Yeah.
kind of law. And the new term coming out of this is going to be separate but equal,
Okay.
which everybody knows about separate but equal.
Right.
But
This
that
originated
comes
that
from
phrase.
that comes from the Plessy case.
Okay.
So the Plessy case starts all that stuff.
Right.
Harlan had the dissenting opinion on this. And he authored that and says, look, I don't think this is the way to go.
Well, how far did Harlan go in his opinion? What did he think? Should it's just all
We have it right here.
nonsense? Should go away completely, or
Yeah, so,
I know you're about to explain
he's,
it, but, like,
sure. And so
give us a clue
he's
here.
arguing that that kind of law is unconstitutional.
okay,
That they're not
So it
reading the
is-
same Constitution he's reading.
okay, got you.
That's essentially where we're going on this, especially in terms of the 13th and 14th Amendments.
Right,
Which the whole case hinged on those in the first place. The 13th Amendment got rid of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th Amendment very clearly said that there was equal citizenship.
Right. Well, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's going out like this shouldn't even be a thing that we're talking
Oh,
about.
no, it's open and shut.
Right.
So in argument, in the majority opinion, they said that there was no violation of the 13th Amendment, which, I mean, you could, from a strict constructionalist point of view, say, okay, yeah, right, nobody's a slave here, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th Amendment, though, very clearly says that no state shall abridge the privileges and immunities of these citizens.
Right.
And so that's a whole different story altogether. And that's really where Harlan is coming from.
So within what you're about to reveal there of his opinion, it will become clear what the other justices were thinking or trying to argue at this point?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, because he's going to reverse engineer all that stuff
Okay.
to give his opinion.
Right. Remember
Yeah.
last time I had pulled out this ridiculously fake affectation of needing to wear glasses?
Exactly.
I think I'll just go ahead.
Video.
So I'll just settle in.
On video, you've got to have
a little
the
blurry
props. That's it. So let's see what Harlan says about
Go
all this
for it.
stuff. In respect of civil rights common to all citizens, the Constitution of the United States does not, I think, permit any public authority to know the race of those entitled to be protected in the enjoyment of such rights. So this is kind of like when you have Lady Justice, rather,
Right.
and she's blindfolded. She's not supposed to be peeking out from underneath the blindfold and saying, well, what color is everybody in this case? Because that really matters.
It's a little different with that, right?
Yes.
He's saying, like, that shouldn't even be a thing.
Not even a thing is how he's going to lead this off. I deny that any legislative body or judicial tribunal may have regard to the race of citizens when the civil rights of those citizens are involved. Indeed, such legislation as that here in question, the Louisiana law, is inconsistent not only with that equality of rights which pertains to citizenship, national and state, but with the personal liberty enjoyed by everyone within the United States. Your personal liberty. And he's going to go on to expound about that a little bit later on as well. It was said in argument that the statute of Louisiana does not discriminate against either race, but prescribes a rule applicable alike to white and colored citizens. That's the separate but equal argument.
Right.
It applies to everybody, therefore civil rights are covered.
Yeah.
No one's denied riding on the train. Everybody can ride on the train.
It's an attempt at the equal travel, equal seating, but separated.
Yeah. If you would said that this kind of people can't ride the train, that would have been a violation of civil rights, even in the 1890s.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is because everybody's got a car, it's all cool. That's the majority opinion.
Like, no, you got different roads, and that's not cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole. Whenever we get to Brown versus Board of Education, they were looking at the schools in that case, and it was like, don't think they're exactly the same. To your point, exactly right. Everyone knows that the statute in question had its origins in the purpose not so much to exclude white persons from railroad cars occupied by blacks, as to exclude colored people from coaches occupied by or assigned to white persons. He says this is the real truth.
Right.
It wasn't this separate but equal thing.
Yeah.
That's a sham. It's a cover.
Well, it's the ones that empower are then enacting the separation. So it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's exactly what Harlan says here. The thing to accomplish was, under the guise of giving equal accommodation for whites and blacks, to compel the latter to keep to themselves while traveling in railroad passenger coaches. No one would be so wanting in candor to assert the contrary. Let's be real here, says John Marshall Harlan. Let's just take all the pretense down. This is what it's all about.
Yeah. Is he alone in his dissent, or that other people? What was Plessy? It wasn't 8-1, was it?
I don't know the count on it.
Yeah.
But all it takes is 5.
Yeah.
And so.
But somebody writes a dissent.
Yeah.
You know, it's on the other side.
Yeah, exactly right.
Choose one.
So, I mean, these votes are always close. They're extraordinarily close if you compare it to, say, the House or the Senate, or it's just by the nature of having 9 justices. And so he says that this is the truth here, if you quit pretending. In view of the Constitution, in the eye of the law, there is in this country no superior dominant ruling class of citizens. There is no caste here.
Right.
So that's like the caste system in India, where you're born into it, you can never leave it.
Yeah.
And you're always going to be the bottom rung because you were born in the bottom rung.
It's counter to the theory behind the United States anyway.
Oh, clearly.
We've been bouncing along trying to make it as equal as we can, but it didn't start out that way perfectly. But
right, and no human institution is perfect. But he's saying, look, you're way off on this.
Yeah,
there is no caste here.
Or people are like they're trying to kid themselves and other people that this is somehow fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Our Constitution is colorblind, and neither knows nor tolerates classes among citizens. There is one class of citizens. And very explicitly it says that in the 14th Amendment. And he says that it even sort of suggests it in the 13th Amendment.
Right.
Because when you end slavery, it ought to be all good at that point.
Right.
But then the 14th came along because they didn't trust that.
Yeah, it ought to be. It doesn't always it's not going to work out.
Right, and that's why the
told sometimes.
And
right.
that's 100% why the 14th Amendment
Right.
exists,
Mhm.
because the 13th Amendment is rather short.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of lines.
Well, we have to add two sometimes to clarify things.
And that's the 14th.
Yeah.
And then there's actually a 15th as well that says these equal citizens can vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another case.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a whole different thing there as well.
Well, did that soon follow, actually, since it's was it years later?
So the voting
Directly
thing,
related to Plessy? Or kind of the response to it nationally?
what happened with the 15th Amendment was states tried to get around it.
Yeah.
And that's where all the voter suppression stuff came out of it, literacy tests and these kinds of things. And the 15th Amendment was always there, though.
Yeah.
And eventually, when you get to the civil rights movement, we revisit that and we're like, oh, yeah, that was stupid.
Right.
And they just toss it all out. It's not even a big deal, really,
Right. Okay.
because the 15th Amendment is already there.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight for it.
Right.
You just have to enforce it.
But okay. All
Yeah.
right, I got you.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah,
going
yeah.
on. So, have we heard his opinion? I'm going to keep interrupting.
No,
But
yeah,
all these little
you're
details,
doing
because you like to get into not just what they wrote, but also what people were thinking at the time.
Exactly.
Those
And you want to be
types
in
of people.
Harlan's head, and you
Right.
want to be in the head of the people who had the majority opinion.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. In my opinion, the judgment this day rendered will in time prove to be quite as pernicious as the decision made by this tribunal in the Dred Scott case. So he's calling out the Supreme Court for a previous decision. The Dred Scott case essentially gave a judicial thumbs up to slavery,
Yeah.
and that was pre-Civil War. And so now he's saying this is the big one post-Civil War.
Yeah.
You've messed up again. And I mean, he was totally right about that. That's what's really great about this is everything he said came true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's being on it.
Right.
That is being on it. The destinies of the two races in this country are indissolubly linked together, and the interests of both require that the common government of all shall not permit the seeds of race hate to be planted under the sanction of law. I mean, that's very clearly, this is the road you're going down,
Right.
he says. And turned out that was right, and you had to have a whole civil rights movement to then undo it, 100 years after the fact. The arbitrary separation of citizens on the basis of race while they are on a public highway is a badge of servitude wholly inconsistent with the civil freedom and the equality before the law established by the Constitution. It cannot be justified upon any legal grounds. We can't be more plainly spoken about this. He says, you've got it completely wrong. And then this part's amazing. If evils will result from the commingling of the two races upon public highways, established for the benefit of all, they will be infinitely less than those that will surely come from state legislation regulating the enjoyment of civil rights on the basis of race. So two guys want to get in a thing and ride together.
Right.
Who
They're
cares?
trying to avoid that discomfort, I guess, for some people, or they perceive it that way, not worth the moral ramifications of it all.
That's just about
Is that
as plain
fair
as it can be.
summary? I mean, I
you're
guess I'm reiterating it.
No, you're doing
for
great.
myself, but
You're doing great.
yeah, thank you, friends. I actually get some of this. No, it's a tough one though to try to put yourself first of all back into maybe the way the majority of people think 100 years ago or more,
That's a fair point.
and then not condone it, but try to understand it and then articulate it with.
Right. And the whole thing about that is they really believe separate but equal was the key to civil rights.
Yeah.
The honest ones. And so they said, okay, look, everybody gets to go to school. Everybody gets to ride in public accommodations. And right down the list. As long as it's there, it's separate but equal.
Right.
And that was the way that they were viewing it. Harlan didn't buy it.
Yeah. So how much longer after this dissent, nothing changed?
That's going to be a while. This
50
is
years?
1896, so
Yeah.
you've got to get up there to about the 1950s
Yeah. Yeah.
to really start overturning that, because that's Brown is in 54.
Yeah.
Brown versus Board of Education is 1954. And I guess really in terms of all human history, that's fairly fast. Mm-hmm. But that's still several decades to set it right the way it was intended to be.
Well, and over the course of we have relatively very brief country history, compared to a lot of countries.
Yeah, percentage-wise, I guess it's quite a few ticks of the clock.
Kind of young still, right? So 50 years is a long time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So for these reasons stated, I am constrained to withhold my assent from the opinion and judgment of the majority. Mm-hmm. Because he told you exactly the way it should be. And this is, when you read this, it's almost hard to believe there was a different opinion in the case, looking back at it today.
Yeah.
He's called the Great Dissenter. The Great Dissenter, because...
known as that.
Yeah, kind of like the Great Compromiser,
Dissent, or like he liked to do this? This was his thing, or he tended to write the dissents? Or is this like the one he stands on the most?
This is just the most famous thing.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
You'd be hard pressed to come up with another one that was
as important,
more famous or as important. Yeah. It certainly would be a top 5 list.
Sure.
No lower than 5th.
Yeah.
But probably number 1.
Okay.
And that's why we say arguably.
And then I guess he's then, as we said at the beginning, for Kentucky anyway, the most important Supreme Court justice that we've had sitting.
You could probably argue that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know the rest of them or how.
Yeah. I mean, Vinson's also a big deal, but I think you could very clearly argue that.
I gotta read more about that guy. That's a new one.
Yeah. He's more of a mid-century guy, and this guy is late 19th century. Mm-hmm. So 2 different eras. I guess we probably better pay a few bills around here, though.
That's a pretty serious conversation here, Brent.
Not anymore.
Thanks for picking such a touchy, difficult topic to put yourself on camera with.
Well, if you felt uncomfortable before, be ready to feel ultra comfortable with our next sponsor.
No,
which is
some serious ones in here, right?
Every now and then, it doesn't hurt anything, does it?
See all the time.
Yeah,
I dare them now to put little stickers and funny little cartoons along with this very serious podcast.
Maybe just the.
Are they about to do it?
They might on the. All
right. What's it about?
This portion of our program is sponsored by Dr. Cheever's Electric Belt. For men only.
Oh.
This belt or regenerator is made expressly for the cure of derangements of the generative organs.
Yeah.
So the generative system.
So the toes.
Pretty close to the toes. I think the generative organs are probably a little north of the toes.
Yeah. All right. So this is in like Sears and Roebuck catalog. Is that what's happening here?
This was from a newspaper.
All right.
So very serious.
But I bet you could get one at Sears and Roebuck.
Possibly. I have seen things like this in there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this one, but I have seen things akin to this maybe.
All right. I'll let you finish your electric cattle prod or whatever it is.
There is no mistake about this instrument. The continuous stream of electricity.
There's not.
Permeating through the parts. That would be your generative system once again. Must restore them to healthy action. Do not confound this with electric belts advertised to cure all ills from head to toe.
Oh, right.
It is for the one, capital O, capital N, capital E, specific purpose.
Okay. All right.
Dr. Cheever's Electric Belt, for men only.
Right. And what happened then? Like, where'd you get your power source? These batteries? We're talking battery time? You plugging it in? I'm not looking at it.
It doesn't explain any of that.
Okay.
It's turn of the 20th century, so you might just plug her in.
Yeah, I might just plug her in.
Yeah. And then it's going to zap things back into working order that have not been in working order.
Right. Yeah. And you just randomly picked this to go along with one of the most important Kentucky Supreme Court justice.
It's called comic relief, Jason.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah, there's some crazy devices and ads back then, and it felt like back 100 years ago, 150 years ago, everything was very, very polite, very staid, very but not when it came to medicine. There's lots of stuff going on to help people.
Yeah,
And products.
oh, the products.
Yeah.
The products are endless.
Uh-huh.
Days and days and days
So
of
maybe just do
products.
the whole show just nothing but products. Well, there's just endless products. We'll do one episode where it's nothing but, ridiculous products.
OKTQVC.
Uh-huh. What? Oh, AK.
OKT QVC.
That's it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be a
nothing
great
but
episode.
products,
We'll
right.
put that in our back pocket for show development because that would be a fun one, wouldn't it?
I would.
Just ad after ad after ad.
Uh-huh.
Cut out all this boring stuff about
Totally.
Supreme Courts and all.
Yes.
How about-
Nothing
how about
but
just-
prototypes.
Yeah,
Whatever. Mm-hmm.
nothing but prototypes, ads, cure-alls.
It's not that big. We'll do that sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 25 things, maybe.
I think we could squeeze 25 in, don't you?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So now we've drawn, what is it again? We've come to the end of the road.
That's at the end of the road, and just cue up the Boys to Men in the background. Watch out for those
Now
copyright
we've come to
claims.
the end of this chapter.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yeah. But don't worry because Old Kentucky Tales
Yeah, that's
never
it.
fails to return. It's like Tales never fails, right?
Right. And probably, even though it'll be a totally different day, on the next episode that we recorded it, we'll be wearing the exact same clothes. So that's okay, right?
It's an amazing coincidence how that happens.
Right. It's just a pure coincidence that next week when we record the
I
next
think it's
one.
when you're in the education business,
Uh-huh.
because you don't have that many items in your wardrobe, right? It's
How
kind
about-
of like a small paycheck.
What do you
and-
consider a lot? 3?
Exactly. So there's a blue shirt,
There's
a
a blue.
white shirt,
Uh-huh.
a black shirt,
Uh-huh.
and you're not allowed to wear the white shirt on the video.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you know that or not.
For this right now?
Yeah.
It'd be glowing?
Yeah, they
I
don't.
think we can wear white.
I think you look radioactive if you've got the white shirt on.
Yeah, I think we did pull it off.
But you can actually download episodes
Oh.
of this show.
You're really trying to make that sound like you spontaneously thought that. Go ahead. You can.
It's pretty
download.
spontaneous. Yeah.
You can share comments at NPR1.
Oh, comments. Comments are good, right? Ratings, as long as they're high
I think
ratings.
they're familiar with it.
Those are, we've got actually pretty decent ratings.
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
And
so
we got a comment like in October, I think. So that's good.
so we got a comment once, so that's not bad.
Not joking. Yeah. Somebody did. Some guy.
We've had a few here
Yeah.
and there, right?
We've had a few.
If
Let's
you
just-
do like it, then go ahead and do that. Take that little extra call to action step right there, and go out,
God
do a little
forbid you
ratings,
do
some
this
5-star kind of stuff.
to your phone.
I don't know. It's a whole click.
So hard to.
Whole click. If you didn't like what you heard, I don't even know what to tell you at this point. How did you
It's
end up
not
at this
changing. We
part
know
of the
that.
show? Right.
That's what we can tell.
Yeah, no, very formulaic. Special thanks to WKMS, Dan, JT,
paper.
and the TV crew,
Oh, yeah.
West Kentucky Community and Technical College, and the rest is history.